The wind whispered secrets across the dusty streets of El Paso, carrying dreams far beyond the modest two-bedroom house where Michael Reyes first learned about machines, resilience, and the art of possibility. Manuel Reyes Auto Repair Shop was more than just a business. It was a classroom of life. Every evening, as the Texas sun painted the sky in hues of orange and deep crimson, Michael would sit on a warm wooden stool, watching his father's hands move with a precision that seemed almost magical. Engines that looked hopelessly broken would come alive under Manuel's touch, each repair a symphony of mechanical resurrection. "Look closely, Mio," his father would say, grease-stained fingers pointing to the intricate workings of an engine. "Every machine tells a story. Your job is to listen carefully and understand its language." Michael was different from other children. While his peers chased basketballs and played video games, he dismantled radios, studied mechanical diagrams, and built miniature model airplanes with an obsessive attention to detail. His mother, Elena, a high school mathematics teacher, recognized the spark of something extraordinary in her son. "You have your father's hands," she would tell him, "but your mind got something entirely different." His first true encounter with flight came unexpectedly. On his 10th birthday, Manuel surprised him with a trip to the local air show. The moment Michael saw the fighter jets slice through the sky, something fundamental shifted inside him. These were not just machines, they were living, breathing entities that defied gravity itself. A weathered pilot named Jack Harrison noticed the young boy's intense concentration. During a break between demonstrations, he approached Michael, who was meticulously sketching every detail of the aircraft in a well-worn notebook. "You've got the eye," Jack said, crouching beside him. "Not just looking, but truly seeing." Those words became a prophecy. High school was a proving ground. Michael excelled in mathematics and physics, but it was more than academic performance. He possessed an intuitive understanding of complex systems that set him apart. His physics teacher, Mr. Ramirez, recognized a rare talent. "You don't just solve problems," Mr. Ramirez told him during a late afternoon tutoring session. "You deconstruct them, understand their fundamental nature, and then rebuild the solution from the ground up." College came with its challenges. Financial constraints meant Michael worked multiple jobs, late-night shifts at his father's shop, weekend tutoring, any opportunity to save money for his dream. His parents sacrificed everything, understanding the magnitude of his ambition. The military recruitment office became a beacon of hope. But Michael wasn't interested in just joining. He was determined to fly. The Navy's aviation program was brutally competitive. Thousands applied. Only a handful would be selected. His application was a masterpiece of precision. Every recommendation letter, every test score, every extracurricular activity was carefully curated. But it was his essay that truly set him apart, a raw, honest exploration of why he was meant to fly. "Flying is not about conquering the sky," he wrote. "It's about understanding the delicate relationship between human capability and mechanical possibility. It's about becoming one with a machine that defies the very laws of nature." The day his acceptance letter arrived, Manuel Reyes wept. Not from sadness, but from a profound understanding of dreams, realized that flight school was a crucible. While others saw obstacles, Michael saw puzzles waiting to be solved. He wasn't the fastest pilot, nor the most naturally gifted, but he was the most consistent, the most analytical. Where others relied on instinct, he constructed strategies. His fellow trainees initially mocked his methodical approach. "The calculator," they called him, a nickname meant to tease, but which Michael embraced with quiet dignity. Senior instructors watched him differently. They recognized something rare: a pilot who didn't just fly aircraft, but understood them at a molecular level. A pilot who could remain calm when every system screamed danger. By the time he completed his training, Michael Reyes was more than a pilot. He was a living bridge between human potential and mechanical perfection. The Navy saw in him not just a pilot, but a future leader, a problem solver who could make split-second decisions that could save lives. Little did he know how prophetic that potential would become. The city was just waking up when Michael Reyes arrived at San Diego International Airport. Dawn painted the sky in soft watercolor hues, pale blues bleeding into hints of gold, a canvas of tranquility that betrayed nothing of the drama about to unfold. His routine was a ritual perfected over years. A precisely brewed thermos of black coffee, no sugar, no cream, sat beside his flight bag. Elena, his mother, had packed him a small container of homemade empanadas, a tradition that continued even now, decades after he'd left home. Some habits, he believed, were worth preserving. The crew briefing room hummed with its usual morning energy. Pilots and flight attendants moved with the choreographed efficiency of professionals who had transformed repetition into an art form. Michael's co-pilot, Sarah Martinez, was already reviewing the morning's flight manifest when he entered. "Morning, Cap," she said, her voice carrying the crisp professionalism of a former Air Force pilot. "Flight 2847 looks clean. Fully loaded, coast to coast to New York." Michael nodded, his eyes already scanning the technical reports. To an outsider, it might have seemed like routine. But to Michael, every detail mattered. A misaligned gauge, a slightly unusual pressure reading, these were the seeds from which catastrophes grew. The pre-flight checklist was more than a procedure. It was a conversation between human and machine, a delicate dance of verification and trust. Each switch, each control surface, each system received his full attention. Where others might see monotony, Michael saw poetry, the intricate language of aviation speaking through instruments and mechanical connections. Fuel levels? He asked Sarah, though he already knew the answer. Precisely calculated. 42,300 pounds. Optimal for our route, with substantial reserve. Their relationship was a finely tuned mechanism. No unnecessary words, complete mutual understanding. They had flown together for 3 years, developing a communication that transcended spoken language. The passengers began boarding. A typical cross-country flight, demographic business travelers with their pressed suits and laptops, families beginning summer vacations, a few students with oversized backpacks, elderly couples holding hands, each with a story, each with a destination, each unaware of how dramatically their journey would be defined by the next few hours. Michael walked through the cabin during initial boarding, a practice he'd maintained throughout his commercial flying career. It wasn't just about checking passenger comfort. It was about feeling the subtle energies, sensing any potential issues before they became problems. An elderly woman caught his eye. She was wearing a faded military pin, probably a veteran. Herself. They shared a moment of unspoken understanding, a silent acknowledgement of service and sacrifice. A young father struggled with an infant and multiple carry-on bags. Michael stepped in, helping secure a bag in the overhead compartment. Small gestures, he believed, created an atmosphere of safety and trust. Back in the cockpit, final preparations were underway. The massive Boeing 787 Dreamliner was more than just a machine to Michael. It was a complex ecosystem, each system interconnected, each component playing a crucial role in a delicate balance between Earth and sky. Sarah was completing the final computer checks. Modern aircraft or technological marvels, millions of lines of code, intricate sensor networks, predictive maintenance systems that could identify potential issues before they became critical. All systems nominal, she reported. Outside ground, crew performed their final external checks. Fuel trucks disconnected, cargo was secured, the massive engines waited, powerful, patient, ready to transform potential into kinetic energy. Michael's mind was a supercomputer of potential scenarios. Years of military and commercial flying had taught him that preparation wasn't about eliminating risk. It was about being ready to transform unexpected challenges into manageable situations. The tower's voice crackled through the headset. Flight 2847. You are cleared for takeoff. Just another morning. Just another flight. Except it wasn't. Silence has a sound. At 28,000 feet, it's a delicate balance of white noise, the soft hum of engines, the distant murmur of passenger conversations, the gentle pressurization of the cabin. Until that silence shatters. The explosion came without warning. Not a gradual failure, but a violent, catastrophic rupture that transformed the Boeing 787 into a living, trembling organism of pure survival instinct. First came the sound. A thunderclap of mechanical agony that ripped through the aircraft's carefully engineered structure. A noise so profound it seemed to exist beyond mere sound, a physical force that vibrated through metal, flesh, and bone. The right engine moments ago, a marvel of engineering precision, became a whirling demon of destruction. Massive titanium blades, each precision crafted to generate thousands of pounds of thrust, began to disintegrate. Metal tore against metal with a screech that would haunt survivors' nightmares for years to come. In the cockpit, warning systems erupted into a cacophony of electronic panic. Red lights blazed across instrument panels. Alarms screamed their urgent warnings. But for Michael Reyes, sound disappeared. Time compressed. Everything reduced to a mathematical problem waiting to be solved. Sarah's hand moved simultaneously, with his years of training transforming them into a single, unified response mechanism. Her fingers danced across communication systems while Michael's hands became extensions of the aircraft's control surfaces. Mayday, mayday. Sarah's voice was clinical, devoid of emotion. Flight 2847. Experiencing critical engine failure. Right engine. Requesting immediate. Another violent shudder interrupted her transmission. In the passenger cabin, chaos erupted. Oxygen masks dropped like mechanical tears. Luggage compartments trembled. A laptop flew across the aisle. A child's stuffed animal tumbled through the air, a surreal symbol of the sudden, violent disruption of normalcy. Michael's mind was processing multiple streams of information simultaneously. Engine status, critically compromised. Structural integrity, potentially damaged. Remaining engine, operational but under extreme stress. Fuel consumption, rapidly changing. Potential landing sites, calculating. Years of military training, of understanding machines at their most fundamental level, crystallized into pure, focused action. Maintain approach vector, he said to Sarah, his voice a calm counterpoint to the electronic chaos surrounding them. We're losing hydraulic pressure. On the right side, outside the aircraft, the world remained indifferent. Clouds drifted. The Pacific stretched endlessly below, a vast, blue indifference to the drama unfolding within the aircraft's pressurized shell. The elderly veteran from earlier, the one with the military pin, gripped her armrest. Not in panic, but with a familiar determination. She had seen chaos before. This was just another challenge. A businessman near the front of the plane began helping an elderly couple with their oxygen masks. A flight attendant moved with practiced efficiency, her training overriding personal fear. Human beings, Michael knew, were extraordinary in their capacity to transform from individual entities to a collective survival mechanism. In the cockpit, every movement was calculated. Each adjustment was a negotiation between physics, mechanical limitations, and human capability. The aircraft was no longer just a machine, it was a living entity, and Michael was its central nervous system. Debris from the exploded engine created additional complications, potential damage to wing surfaces, Potential fuel line compromises. Each potential scenario raced through Michael's mind, evaluated, categorized, prepared for. Sarah's voice cut through his calculations. Nearest suitable airport is San Francisco International. 287 miles. Current fuel and wind conditions suggest we can make it. Michael's response was instantaneous. Affirmative. Begin communication with ground control. Full emergency protocols. The passengers wouldn't know it, but their survival now depended on a complex dance of mathematics, mechanical understanding, and human resilience. One wrong calculation, one moment of hesitation, could transform this moment from a potential story of survival to a tragic footnote in aviation history. Outside, the sky remained beautiful, indifferent, waiting. The human brain is a remarkable instrument. In moments of extreme crisis, it can transform from a complex thinking machine to a hyper-focused survival mechanism. Michael Reyes' brain was operating at a level few would ever comprehend. Symphony of analytical precision and instinctive response. Hydraulic systems compromised, Sarah reported, her voice a controlled monotone that betrayed years of professional training. Partial loss of control surfaces on the right wing. Michael's hands moved with a fluidity that defied the chaos around them. Each movement was a calculated dance adjusting flight controls, managing remaining engine power, compensating for the massive structural imbalance created by the destroyed engine. His mind was a supercomputer, running multiple scenarios simultaneously. Combat training from his military days merged with years of commercial aviation experience. Where others might see catastrophe, he saw a complex mechanical puzzle waiting to be solved. We're losing altitude, Sarah said, a hint of tension finally, breaking through her professional veneer. Negative, Michael responded, his voice cutting through the electronic cacophony of warning systems. We're maintaining controlled descent. Different strategy. In the cabin behind them, a different drama was unfolding. Passengers had transitioned from initial panic to a strange collective calm. Survival instinct had replaced fear. An off-duty nurse was checking on elderly passengers. A group of businessmen were helping a mother with 2 young children secure their oxygen masks. Michael's voice crackled over the intercom. 3 simple words that would become legendary. We are safe. Those words were more than a statement. They were a promise. A commitment forged through decades of training, of understanding that leadership was about more than technical skill. It was about creating a sense of certainty in the face of uncertainty. His mind raced through a mental checklist, developed over thousands of flight hours. Structural integrity, compromised but manageable remaining engine, operating at 78%. Capacity fuel reserves, sufficient for controlled approach electrical systems. Stable hydraulic control, partially functional each. Assessment was a millisecond calculation. Each decision could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. Sarah was simultaneously managing external communications. Air traffic control in San Francisco was preparing emergency protocols. Runway teams were being activated. Fire services placed on standby. A complex machine of human response was grinding into motion. Michael remembered a lesson from his earliest flight instructor. Flying isn't about controlling a machine, Jack Harrison had told him decades ago. It's about becoming one with it, understanding its language, feeling its pulse. Those words echoed now. The aircraft wasn't just a machine. It was a living entity, and he was its central nervous system. A sudden turbulence tested the aircraft's damaged structure. Where another pilot might have overcorrected, Michael made microscopic adjustments. Each movement was a negotiation between physics, mechanical limitation, and human capability. The elderly veteran from earlier caught his eye through the cockpit door. She gave a slight nod, a veteran's understanding. A silent acknowledgement of professional mastery. In the cabin, a remarkable transformation was occurring. Strangers were becoming a community. A shared experience was creating bonds stronger than any social convention. A businessman helped an elderly couple. A young student offered water to a trembling passenger. Human beings, Michael knew, were most beautiful in moments of collective challenge. His communication with Sarah had transcended spoken language. A raised eyebrow, a slight hand movement, a micro-adjustment of a control surface. They were operating as a single organism, two brains, merged into one survival mechanism. Approaching San Francisco, Sarah reported. Emergency teams are ready. Michael's response was immediate. Prepare for precision approach. We're going to make this look smooth. And that was the essence of his approach. Not just survival. Not just landing. But landing with such precision that passengers would later wonder if anything had gone wrong at all. The aircraft was more than a machine now. It was a testament to human capability, to training, to the extraordinary capacity of professional skills transformed into life-saving action. The sky is a merciless canvas. At 28,000 feet, with one engine critically damaged, it becomes a battlefield where every calculation, every communication, could mean the difference between life and death. Michael's hands moved across the control panel with a fluidity that defied the crisis surrounding them. Navigation was no longer a simple matter of following predetermined routes. It was a complex three-dimensional chess game played against physics, mechanical limitations, and time itself. Ground control, this is flight 2847, Sarah's voice was a razor's edge of professional calm. Requesting emergency vector to San Francisco International. Engine 2 critically compromised. The response came quickly. A symphony of professional voices, air traffic controllers, emergency coordinators, technical support, all moving with a synchronicity born of years of training. Michael's mind was a quantum computer of possibilities. Fuel consumption calculations scrolled through his consciousness like a live-action spreadsheet. Wind resistance, altitude variations, potential mechanical failures. Each variable was a thread in an intricate tapestry of survival. A warning light flickered on the hydraulic systems panel. Most pilots would have seen a problem. Michael saw an opportunity, a challenge to be managed, a system to be understood. We're losing hydraulic pressure on the right side control surfaces, he muttered, more to himself than to Sarah. Compensating with left side stabilizers. To an observer, it might have seemed like a simple statement, but it was a complex ballet of aerodynamic management. Each adjustment was a negotiation between the aircraft's damaged structure and Michael's extraordinary understanding of its mechanical language. In the cabin, passengers had entered a strange state of collective calm. The initial panic had transformed into a quiet determination. People who moments ago were strangers were now holding hands, sharing water, offering comfort. An off-duty medical professional moved through the cabin with a calm efficiency, checking on elderly passengers, ensuring children remained calm, creating small islands of reassurance in an ocean of potential disaster. The communication systems were a living organism. Multiple channels open simultaneously. Ground control, emergency services, technical support teams. Each conversation a critical lifeline. Fuel consumption at 62% of reserves, Sarah reported. Her voice carried no emotion, just pure clinical information. Michael's response was instantaneous. Adjusting approach vector. We'll optimize fuel efficiency by utilizing current wind conditions. It was more than a statement. It was a masterclass in crisis management. Where others might see a series of problems, Michael saw a complex system waiting to be optimized. Outside the aircraft, the world continued its indifferent dance. Clouds drifted. The Pacific stretched below a vast blue canvas that held both promise and potential destruction. Navigation at this moment was more art than science. Michael was essentially piloting a massive, wounded bird. Each adjustment was a brushstroke. Each communication a carefully chosen word in an unfolding narrative. Of survival, the elderly veteran from earlier caught his eye again. Another silent communication. A veteran's understanding of professional mastery. A recognition of the extraordinary happening in the most ordinary of spaces. San Francisco approach control. Sarah's voice cut through the electronic symphony. Flight 2847 confirming emergency approach. One engine operational. Requesting full emergency protocol activation. Michael's mind was already 10 steps ahead. Calculating potential runway configurations. Assessing wind shear possibilities. Understanding how the aircraft's damaged structure would interact with landing dynamics. Sudden turbulence tested the aircraft's compromised structure. Where another pilot might have panicked, Michael made microscopic adjustments. Each movement, a negotiation between physics, mechanical limitation, and human capability. Maintaining approach vector, he said to Sarah, not a question. A statement of absolute certainty. The communication systems were more than technological tools. They were lifelines. Threads connecting a damaged aircraft to a network of human expertise. Ground control, emergency services, technical support teams. Each conversation a critical link in a chain of survival.fuel calculations continued their dance across multiple screens. Wind resistance measurements, altitude variations, potential mechanical failure points. Each data point a potential story of survival or catastrophe. But Michael Reyes was writing a different story, a story of human capability, of professional mastery, of transforming a potential disaster into a testament of human resilience. Time becomes a different entity during true crisis. Seconds stretch into eternities. Moments compress into razor-sharp points of pure potential. For Michael Reyes, the approach to San Francisco International was a symphony of calculated precision. The aircraft was no longer just a machine. It was a wounded organism, and he was its life support system. Flaps are responding at 62% efficiency, Sarah reported, her voice a clinical instrument of pure information. Each word carefully measured, each syllable containing volumes of potential. Consequence. Michael's hands moved across the control panel with a surgeon's precision. Where most would see a series of mechanical challenges, he saw a complex puzzle waiting to be solved. Years of military training, thousands of flight hours, decades of understanding machines, all crystallized into this singular moment. The cabin behind them had transformed. An extraordinary human mechanism of survival was taking shape. The off-duty nurse was now organizing passengers into a support network. A group of businessmen were helping elderly passengers prepare for emergency landing procedures. Children were being held close, comfort becoming a collective responsibility. San Francisco Control, Flight 2847, confirming final approach vector. Sarah's communication was a lifeline stretching across radio waves. Requesting full emergency protocol. Structural integrity compromised. One engine operational. Michael's mind was a quantum computer of possibilities. Wind resistance calculations. Potential mechanical failure points. Runway conditions. Fuel. Consumption. Each variable a thread in an intricate tapestry of survival. The elderly veteran, her military pin, a silent testament to previous challenges, was helping a young mother secure her children's safety belts. Strangers were becoming a unified organism of survival. Human beings revealing their most extraordinary nature in moments of collective challenge. Hydraulic pressure stabilizing, Michael muttered, more to himself than to Sarah. Each word a careful negotiation with the aircraft's damaged systems. Compensating for right-wing structural compromise. Outside, San Francisco approached. The Golden Gate Bridge, symbol of human engineering, waited in the distance. Another testament to human capability to transform seemingly impossible challenges into moments of triumph. Emergency services were activating. Fire trucks positioned. Medical teams on standby. A complex human machine grinding into motion, prepared for any potential scenario. Michael remembered his father's words from decades ago. In that small auto repair shop in El Paso, every machine tells a story. Manuel Reyes would say, "Your job is to listen carefully and understand its language." Now, at 28,000 feet with a critically damaged aircraft, those words resonated with profound clarity. The landing preparation was more than a technical challenge. It was a meditation on human capability, on professional training transformed into pure survival instinct. Sarah's voice cut through his thoughts. Fuel reserves at critical levels. Approximately 18 minutes of operational capacity remaining. Michael's response was instantaneous. "We'll be on the ground well before then. Prepare for precision approach." In the cabin, a remarkable transformation continued. Fear had given way to a strange collective calm. People who moments ago were strangers were now a unified organism of survival, sharing water, offering comfort, creating small islands of hope. In an ocean of potential disaster, the aircraft's damaged systems were speaking a language only Michael could truly understand. Each warning light, each fluctuating gauge, a complex communication of mechanical potential and limitation. "Initiating final approach sequence," he announced, his voice a beacon of absolute certainty. Ground control's response was immediate. "Flight 2847. You are cleared for emergency landing. All runways prepared. Emergency services standing by." Michael's hands moved with a fluidity that defied the crisis surrounding them. Each adjustment a microscopic negotiation between physics, mechanical limitation, and human capability. The elderly veteran caught his eye again through the cockpit door. Another silent communication. A veteran's understanding of professional mastery. A recognition of the extraordinary happening in the most ordinary of spaces. Navigation was now a three-dimensional chess game played against physics, mechanical limitations, and time itself, where another pilot might have seen a series of insurmountable challenges. Michael saw a complex system waiting to be managed. "Maintaining approach vector," he said to Sarah, not a question, a statement of absolute certainty. The aircraft was more than a machine now. It was a testament to human capability, to training, to the extraordinary capacity of professional skills transformed into life-saving action. Silence has a sound. It's the collective breath of 237 souls suspended between survival and catastrophe. The approach to San Francisco International was a ballet of impossible precision. Michael Reyes' hands moved across the controls with a fluidity that defied the aircraft's critical condition. Each microscopic adjustment was a negotiation between physics, mechanical limitation, and pure human will. "Gear down," Sarah called out, her voice a razor's edge of professional calm. The landing gear responded with a groan that seemed to echo the aircraft's own pain. Damaged, compromised, but not defeated. Outside the cockpit, the world waited. Emergency. Vehicles lined the runway, a military precise formation of red and white. Foam trucks, ambulances, fire engines. A complex machine of human preparedness grinding into motion. Michael's mind was a quantum computer of infinite possibilities. Wind resistance calculations, structural integrity assessments, potential failure points. Each thought a lightning-fast computation that could mean the difference between survival and catastrophe. "Approach vector stable," he muttered, more to himself than to Sarah. The passengers had entered a state beyond fear, a collective consciousness of survival. The off-duty nurse was still moving through the cabin, a beacon of calm. Businessmen helped elderly passengers. Strangers held hands. Children were secured, protected by a makeshift community, forged in the crucible of potential disaster. The elderly veteran, her military pin, a silent testament to previous challenges. Caught Michael's eye one last time? A nod. A veteran's understanding of professional mastery. Ground control's voice crackled through the communication systems. Flight 2847, you are cleared for emergency landing. All protocols activated. The San Francisco skyline approached. The Golden Gate Bridge, a symbol of human engineering and resilience, stood as a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Michael remembered every moment of training, every simulation, every challenge that had prepared him for this singular instant. His father's words echoed in his mind. Every machine tells a story. Your job is to listen carefully and understand its language. The damaged aircraft was speaking volumes. Hydraulic pressure fluctuating, Sarah reported. Her voice carried no emotion, just pure, clinical information. Michael's response was instantaneous. A series of microscopic adjustments that would later be studied by aviation experts as a masterclass in crisis management. The runway grew larger, each moment compressed into a razor-sharp point of pure potential. Wind conditions were challenging. The aircraft's compromised structure added layers of complexity that would have defeated lesser pilots. But Michael Reyes was not a lesser pilot. Prepare for touchdown, he announced, not a request. A statement of absolute certainty. The cabin behind them held its collective breath. The first contact with the runway was unlike any landing in aviation history. Where most landings are smooth transitions, this was a delicate dance between a wounded machine and a pilot's extraordinary skill. The right side of the aircraft dipped slightly, a testament to the compromised engine and structural damage. But Michael's hands were faster than physics, correcting, adjusting, negotiating. Sparks flew from the damaged landing gear. The sound was unlike anything most passengers had ever heard, a screech of metal against concrete that seemed to tear through the fabric of reality itself. Yet there was no panic, only a strange, collective calm. The aircraft's weight settled. Friction fought against momentum. Emergency systems activated automatically. We are down, Michael said simply. It was more than a statement. It was a promise fulfilled. Emergency vehicles converged instantly. Foam sprayed. Doors prepared for potential evacuation. But inside the aircraft, something extraordinary was happening. The initial shock gave way to a wave of emotion. Quiet tears. Hushed prayers. Strangers embracing. The elderly veteran unbuckled her seatbelt, walked to the cockpit, saluted Michael through the door. No words were necessary. Some stories are about grand gestures. This was about the extraordinary capability hidden within ordinary moments, about human beings revealing their most profound nature when challenged beyond imagination. Michael Reyes had done more than land an aircraft. He had transformed a potential tragedy into a testament of human resilience. The world moves in strange rhythms after moments of extraordinary survival. Hours after the landing, the airport conference room felt both too large and suffocatingly small. Investigators, aviation experts, airline representatives all gathered around a table that seemed to hold the weight of 237 saved lives. Michael Reyes sat quietly. His flight suit was still slightly rumpled from the emergency, a tangible reminder of the morning's events. To an outsider, he might have seemed calm, but those who knew him understood. This was the eye of a storm of internal processing. Sarah Martinez was seated beside him. Their bond, forged in the crucible of crisis, was now something beyond professional partnership. They had become something more, guardians of a moment that would be studied for years to come. The initial investigation was meticulous. Every second of the flight was reconstructed with surgical precision. Flight data recorders, cockpit voice recordings, passenger testimonies. A complex puzzle being assembled piece by extraordinary piece. The engine failure was catastrophic, the lead investigator explained, spreading technical diagrams across the conference table. A critical metal fatigue in the compressor blade. Under normal circumstances, this would have resulted in complete aircraft loss. Normal circumstances. Those words hung in the air like a challenge. Michael listened, not with the defensiveness of a pilot under scrutiny, but with the analytical mind of someone constantly seeking to understand. Each technical detail was another lesson, another opportunity to learn. Outside, the media circus was in full motion. Miracle landing. The headlines would read, "Hero pilot saves 237 lives." But Michael knew better. This wasn't about heroism. This was about training, about understanding, about the extraordinary capabilities hidden within professional preparation. His phone buzzed. A message from Elena, his mother. "Your father would be proud," it read. Simple words that carried volumes of emotional weight. The elderly veteran from. The flight had become something of a media sensation. She gave interviews describing Michael's call. It was like he was having a conversation with the aircraft, she told reporters. Not fighting it, understanding it. Psychological evaluations were mandatory, not as a punishment, but as a standard procedure. Michael underwent them with the same methodical approach he applied to everything else in his life. "How do you feel?" the psychologist asked. Michael's response was characteristic. "There are always lessons to be learned." The airline's CEO approached him during a break. A carefully tailored suit. Expensive watch, but genuine respect in his eyes. "We'd like you to help develop new training protocols," he said. Not a request. A recognition. Sarah was being interviewed separately. Her account matched Michael's with mathematical precision. Two professionals who had transformed a potential disaster into a testament of human capability. Passenger stories began to emerge. The nurse who had helped organize the cabin. The businessman who had assisted elderly passengers. The mother who had kept her children calm. Each story a thread in a larger tapestry of human resilience. The technical report would be exhaustive. Hundreds of pages detailing the exact sequence of events. The millisecond by millisecond breakdown of how a potentially fatal aircraft failure was transformed into a survival story. But the real story wasn't in the technical details. It was in the human moments. The hands that had held each other during the crisis. The strangers who had become a temporary family. The professionals who had transformed training into pure survival instinct. Michael thought about his father's auto repair shop, about the lessons learned watching machines being understood, not just repaired, about listening to the language of complex systems. An invitation arrived. The National Transportation Safety Board wanted him to speak, to share insights, to help prevent future incidents. But for Michael, this was never about recognition. It was about understanding, about the extraordinary capabilities hidden within ordinary moments, about the profound connection between human skill and mechanical potential. The media would call it a miracle. He would call it professional responsibility.